So happy to be with you guys. I know we talk so much about, relationships, and I want to explain to you why I focus on relationships. Because as I was growing in my spiritual journey, and as I was uncovering, a lot of the traumas that I had gone through, I realized a lot of these traumas, Tulsa, Oklahoma in the house, New York City, Minneapolis, Philly, a lot of these traumas were a result of, how I grew up, the relationship, with my stepfather, the lack of relationship with my father, relationship with, my mother, being disappointed in relationships. A lot of the things were because of some type of relationship. And the more I dug deep into it, I started to look up and my eyes really started to open. Everything in our life has to deal with relationship. I think a lot of times people don't understand that everything is relationships. Whether we were born and we had our parents in our life and we desired it, or we had, a parent who wasn't able to show up for us, or a caregiver. When we get into romantic relationships and, we get hurt or we get traumatized or we feel disappointed or let down. But guess what? Even before it gets to that point of stepping into a relationship, what is our relationship with ourselves? How are we attracting the type of relationships from others that of people who aren't able to hold space for us, people who aren't emotionally available? How is that reflecting? What is the lesson for us to see in ourselves? And so often when I coach, I come across people who are disconnected with themselves. And they wonder why they are disconnected in relationships, or why they can't connect in a relationship, or why they get lost in a relationship. Or they look up and realize that I've wasted the last 3 years of my life because I was in a relationship that didn't serve me and I was scared to leave. I knew I should have. I was feeling pulled, but I couldn't step away from the relationship. They were disconnected. And even on other sides, when I coach people in business, and there's sometimes where they're not able to really connect with coworkers, or they're not able to, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, really lead or connect or create meaningful relationships, with their employees or with their team, because they're disconnected with themselves. Or with people, and we don't think about this sometimes, as people, and we're trying to create more abundance. It's like, man, I'm trying to get this bag, I'm trying to get this money. And we have a pattern of when money comes into our life, something happens and we lose it, or we invest wrong, or something happens where we look up and we don't have that money anymore. And then guess what? A couple years later, or another opportunity comes, we get money and we get disconnected from it. And we don't realize we have an unhealthy relationship with money. We have an unhealthy relationship with abundance. So as I started really coaching and creating a framework for my life, I realized there's 5 levels of life, how I live. And there's 5 areas that I've identified that if I'm successful in these areas, I feel like I'm successful in life. And it's mind, body, soul. When we're connected in our mind, we're healthy mentally. In our body, we feel vibrant and expressive. And we're able to really connect and love the skin and the body that we're in. And when we're connected to our spirit and our purpose, it unlocks this person, this identity that allows us to feel free. And then at that point, we can step out into the other 2 pillars, which is business. What is our purpose? How are we serving? How are we expressing? How are we showing up with our gifts and talents to be able to, heal and help the world or help others? And then relationships. What are our romantic relationships, our friendships? What does that, really look like? How can I hold space or, express love in a container of relationship? So as I really dove deeply, I'm like, man, what is our relationship with our mind? What's our relationship with our soul? Are we connected? Are we disconnected? So that is the reason why everything I do starts with the relationship with self, because that is the foundation of anything that you're going to build. I tell people it's just like if you're going to build a house. You have to have a solid foundation, and then you can build anything on that house. But how can we build something if we don't even have a vision or a connection with ourselves? So if you guys have any questions, go ahead and throw into the chat box. There's a couple of things that I wrote down I wanted to talk about. One of them is dumbing yourself down for a relationship. dumbing yourself down for friendship, dumbing yourself down for a spot in an organization, or a business, or so that your employer won't feel intimidated, or so your spouse won't feel intimidated, or your friends won't get jealous of you. We're in a culture a lot of times where we want to be accepted so bad. We want connection so bad because we haven't experienced it or we've lacked it in our life, that when someone comes along that we feel a connection with, but we feel like, hey, my personality may be too much, or maybe they're uncomfortable when I express myself. And I've seen time and time again where people choose to dumb themselves down to create a standard of, I cannot or I shouldn't completely be who I am because it may offend somebody else or they might not like it. And we choose to show up in a lower version of ourselves just so we can have somebody to say that they love us. But what I've found out is the reason we settle for these things in the name of love is because we don't have a clear picture of what love is. When I've studied the different, types of love, and the Greeks have identified many types of love. There's agape love, which is unconditional love. There's so many different types of love, a romantic love, a friendship type love. But love comes down to, it empowers you, it inspires you, it actually expands you. Real love expands you. And when you're in a real relationship, and it's a powerful relationship, your significant other is going to be inspired to help you become more of yourself. Now, might be areas where, say, you have some negativity or you complain. It's going to be some areas where they can inspire you to rise higher and develop more character, but it's in a way of supporting you, not in a way that's tearing you down. But if it's a thing where they're like, oh, you're too much, you're too emotional, or you want too much of my time, you're too clingy, like all of these different things where you literally have to dumb yourself down. Or especially in a way when it comes to intelligence, where there's a lot of men, there's a lot of women too, there's a lot of people who are insecure when they feel like the person they're with or they're around is smarter than them, or on a different level than them. So they try to tear them down to be on that same level. And the purpose of this conversation is to tell you that that isn't real love, because real love builds you up. It inspires you. It does challenge you to grow, but not in a way where it's tearing you down and make you feel less than. That isn't love. So we have to re-identify and reevaluate what we have labeled as love, because there's a lot of toxic connection. There's a lot of just lust that we're feeling, sexual desire or attraction. And some of that attraction is like trauma bonds that's pulling us in, and we're like, oh, I feel so connected. And you literally can feel a connection, but we label it as love. And that's not the case. So I want to inspire you all. I want to really inspire you to seek out a relationship where you can be yourself and grow and connect with more of yourself, and someone who can inspire you to be that. Another thing that I want to talk about is don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to accept all sides of yourself. I'm going to tell you guys a story. So I've been doing a lot of work. And there was a time in my 20s, as young men sometimes, we go and we want to be the man, and we just want, to get all the girls, and, we want all the attention, very ego-based, right? And, there was a time that I was really, living and embodying that. And then when I started really doing some deep work, it's like your eyes open. My eyes started to open, and I started to realize that there's some relationships that I wasn't, uplifting the person, that I actually tore them down. There's some toxic traits in me where I contribute to the demise of relationship, right? Consciousness allows us to take responsibility by helping us see the reality and break out of the story or the pattern that has been living as a reality. So, when that happened, I completely changed. I went celibate. I called, these people, and I'm like, I wanted to heal the relationship. Not that we have to start a relationship now, But any remaining, resistance, any remaining hurt, I want to let you know that I take responsibility for it and I move on. But what I didn't realize, you guys, and this is what I want to share with you guys, especially you guys who are doing, deep work, what I didn't realize is that side of me, as I started to heal, that side of me, I started to really not like that aspect of me, right? So I was in meditation, I was in prayer one day, and what I got was, in my pursuit and growing in connection to self-love, I had also grew a level of self-hate. And that self-hate was that part of me that was that. So as I was growing in love and embracing this, my fullest version, I was also rejecting and ashamed of parts of myself. And I see that often as we start to grow, we realize areas that we messed up and we probably weren't the best. And we start to, look down on those years or be ashamed of those, years of our life, not realizing that there's a lesson in everything. Had we not gone through that experience, we would not have the context to reflect and understand the value of what we are stepping into, or might not have even developed the desire to grow and become different. So I want to encourage you all, as you all are connecting to love, as you are accepting that it's okay for me to be me, and I'm not going to dumb myself down just to try to have a connection, I can draw in a relationship where I'm empowered and I can be myself and they'll love me for who I am. You first have to love yourself completely. Because if you don't love yourself completely, how are you going to expect or even ask someone to love you completely? But you don't love yourself. So as you're able to embrace all sides of you, love all sides of you, and also realize the areas you can elevate in love to become a better version of yourself, immerse yourself in that love and realize that I can also attract someone who can love me and would wants and desires to love me in my completeness. Do you guys have any questions? I think it was one more thought that I wrote down. Grow the power of self-love. And I say this often, but I wanted to really let you guys know this. What self-love does is it allows those buried parts, those hidden parts inside of us to come to the surface for us to recognize and see those things. And a lot of times those aspects are our gifts and our talents. It allows us to unlock our gifts and talents and directs us towards our purpose. I go over this in the self-love mini course. Link is in my bio if you guys, want to join. But this is so powerful because there's so many of us, there's so many people who are like, man, what's my purpose? I'm looking, I need my purpose. I'm looking to see how can I serve? I feel called. There's something inside of me that's great, but I don't know what it is. And I don't know how to get started. And we're looking externally. Hey, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can do that. And yes, there's a level of discovery for you to try new things, but the answer to your gifts and talents is inside of you. And we unlock it by spending time with ourselves, saying, I value me enough where I'm not going out every Friday. Every Friday is internal time. I'm journaling until I discover what this purpose is. Because as you connect to self-love, it helps you see yourself differently. And a lot of us have been overlooking our gifts and our talents. They're there, we've been overlooking them. Or we're not attuned to value that part of us. And they slowly start to come to the surface. And you see yourself different. And the future direction of your life changes. Why? Because now you're connected to your higher self, and that's able to rise up and be more powerful. And through that intuition, through that connection to your faith, you're able to continue forward and walk in a higher level of clarity. And that's what this life is about. It's about us experiencing. It's about us getting to know ourselves. And through that, seeing ourselves, loving ourselves completely, unlocking our talents and our gifts. And that gives us the opportunity to serve and create abundance. Because, through that service, we're able to create and give love, give expression, give help, solve problems. And in return, we get a level of happiness, a level of satisfaction. financial rewards, financial success, but it's about how we're giving and what we're giving. So let me go through the questions. It was meant for me to click on that live. I'm so happy that, this resonates with you. I have self-love, but men make me feel like I'm too extra and intimidating. I just have too much love. It scares people who lack it. And I'm glad that you worded that exactly the way you worded that. You said that you have too much love to give and it scares people, because what that does is it tells me that you've embodied that belief system. You've embodied what people have told you, what you've experienced as real, and because that is your reality, is what you keep giving back. The law of attraction, the law of resonance says we can only attract what we are being. So what I would encourage you to do is, when is the first time that you heard or you experienced feeling too much, right? And a lot of times when it comes to women, and at this point I've coached about 250 women plus, a lot of times when it comes to women, there's been times where you felt yourself that my emotions are too much. I can't process this. I feel sad. I feel confused. It's so much. And that's a gift. It's a superpower. But what happens is, if we don't know how to direct or express our emotions, it's just a whole bunch of energy inside of us taking over, making us feel uncomfortable. And then guess what? We get into a relationship and we show up. And those same emotions, where we felt overwhelmed or it's too much sometimes, they come out in the relationship. And that response is exactly what we felt and we've said about ourselves. Or maybe someone in childhood, your parent or your mother expressed that to you and you've embodied it. So that's your biggest opportunity in direction, since you believe that, to go and to heal that so that your belief system changes and then your reality changes. And if you would like some help with that, if you like some support, that is what I focus on. The difference between, coaching and therapy, therapy is good. Everyone, I believe, should, go in therapy. But the difference is, a lot of therapists try to help you understand, help you cope, help you work with the situations that have happened in your life, so that you can show up in a healthier way. What my gift is that I am able to help identify, and coaches identify, what is the source of the problem? What have you accepted? What are you saying and showing up or living as your current reality? How can we help you process that and adopt and grow into and step into a different belief system so that you can show up differently? How can I help you rise and grow so then we can work or operate on a higher level? So a lot of times, to me, it's the difference between, not coping, but, when it comes to, healing work, or when it comes to, say you have, a disease, there's medicines that will help you cope with the symptoms and help you still be able to operate. And then there's methods that can help you completely heal it, that completely, transmute or transform that situation. So I'm in the transformation business. And if you're interested in any help or support, by all means, let me know. And if I can support you, I would love that opportunity. Yes. All right, you all. Well, if you guys don't have any other questions, I'm going to give you, a minute to drop any questions. We're going to focus in and really show up for you all, every week. And how I like to host this is I'll come with, 2 or 3 thoughts, 2 or 3 things that have either come up in my life, come up in, a client's life that may be able to shed light or to help you, and then leave it up to you all to ask questions. Well, thank each and every one. I thank you guys for joining. I'm very appreciative of the support, for you showing up. And I want to build a community of love and support. And I don't want you all to be afraid or ashamed to ask your questions, no matter how deep they are. And the reason why is because the deeper we can go in expressing ourselves, the deeper we can go in healing ourselves, then the deeper our healing and our wholeness connects, and the deeper we're able to shed love and operate from love deep inside of us. Because here's the thing, I don't know about you all, but I'm tired of shallow relationships where people are showing up how they think you want them to show up, where people are scared or hiding parts of themselves because they don't know how they'll be received. When we show up 100% transparent and authentic, it gives the opportunity and the space for us to have deeper connection. And our world is suffering right now because everyone is disconnected with themselves and disconnected from each other. But guess what? If you have a deep, intimate, loving, supportive relationship with somebody, even if you have differences of opinion, you're more likely to listen, to seek out to understand them versus just fighting, and causing, disconnection. So the deeper we can go in ourselves and the deeper we can show up for others, the deeper the world connects. And it's hard. It's hard to really, go chaotic, on someone that you have a deep, loving connection with. And that's what we need. It's going to promote better conversation. How can I find ways to accept the whole me? The first thing that I would do is I would get a piece of paper. This is something that I teach, to all of my students, is journaling. There's a scientific component to journaling where scientifically they've been able to identify that people who journal, it's easier for them to be able to get around their thoughts and get clarity because they're able to step outside of just their mind and see whatever is happening differently. And I will write out a list. What are the aspects of me that I'm ashamed of? What are the parts of me that I don't accept? What are the parts of me that I wish that were better? And as you're looking at this list, really ask yourself why. Really ask yourself, why do I feel like I was prettier? Why do I feel like whatever that thing is? And you may go back to, my first love when I was 13 years old. My boyfriend, he didn't want to go to prom with me. He wanted to go to another girl. And he said, because she's prettier than me. And your whole life, you may not accept how you look because you were rejected by the person that you cared about because they said, so you're going to start to be able to identify and see these things. So the first way is to spend enough time with yourself to write out this list. And as you look at this list, look at all those components and ask yourself, why do I feel this way? If you want other support, there's so many other tools, that I have, but that's a great starting point. And you're going to start to connect some dots. And when you connect those dots, it gives you the opportunity to heal some areas in your life. Perfectly Human said, I love journaling. Right. Being overly sexualized when you're not giving off that type of energy. That's so deep. That's such a deep topic. That is something I'd rather, address with you one-on-one because I can ask a couple of specific questions and kind of see where that energy comes from. Because sometimes, it's an energy that we put out because we want attention, we want love, we want connection. Or, sometimes it's a way we were exposed and we're showing up that way and we don't even know. Or other times we're in an arena where we aren't doing anything, but because of the arena that we're in or around, it's a reflection of those types. So it's so many different elements and opportunities that we have to heal. And remember, everything that comes into our life is for a purpose and it has a lesson. So I would start asking myself in my meditation, in my prayer, why is it that I don't try to be, sexualized, but people say that I have that type of energy. I'm not even thinking about sex, but people say, oh, you're so sexual, or they, give me negative attention in ways that I don't like. That's an opportunity for you to learn that lesson. If you ask, and you listen to your intuition, you will be given the answer. If you need support, definitely let me know. All right, awesome. So thank you all so much for tuning in. I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.